Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I wanted to break down how to step-by-step build craft inside of Destiny 2 PvE. My channel has two purposes. One is to show off cool builds so that players can have more fun playing the best part of Destiny, in my opinion, is endgame PvE. Two is to allow players to grow and become the best they can by giving more thought to how and why we play Destiny. Today's video is on that second purpose, or at least part of it. This is going to be a gritty video, so get yourself a drink and let's get this rolling. First up, where do I begin? This is a great question. When I'm build crafting, I personally often begin with choosing the class right down to the subclass. So say I'll choose Titan, and then I'll choose Void, or I'll choose Warlock, and I'll choose Solar. Choose your class, and then you choose your subclass. And then from there, you're going to follow up with your armor and your aspects and fragments and so on and so forth. So today, we're going to walk through a potential, not currently available, potential Titan Void 3.0 build as I make it. So we have our class. We are going to use Void. Well now, since we are doing a 3.0 class, let's choose our grenade. I really like Vortex grenades, and with its buff, it's going to make it pull in now. I think it's going to be really strong. And because of this, I am obviously going to choose Vortex grenades. For our melee, I'm going to choose the new shield throw. I think this melee is going to be borderline broken. To be able to throw out a melee from behind cover, hit 2 to 3 targets with it, and get a chunk of overshield is going to be incredibly strong. This will go right in hand with our two aspects. I am first going to be choosing Controlled Demolitionist. I think this ability is incredibly strong, and because it's currently locked to Titan's arguably lower class than Bubble, nobody really understands how strong it is. My other aspect is going to be the new Bastion aspect. When casting Barricade, will generate a new Barricade that is Void empowered and grant you a recharging Void overshield. And in fact, I'm going to run it on a tiny Barricade, the Rally one, so that way I can pop it and use it almost as if I have a Luna's Healing Rift. So this overshield keeps regenerating as long as you're behind the barricade. And so I think it's actually going to be really strong with Rally Barricade because you can keep shooting. You pop it, you get yourself an overshield that's regenerating. While you're standing behind it, you keep shooting. And then Rally Barricade also gives you max reload speed, so it's going to be like running Lunas, but without any of the downsides of running Lunas, right? Okay, so we have our aspects now. What about our fragments? We don't know all of these yet. We will in less than 10 days, but we don't know all of these yet. But we do know enough that I can pick probably 4. I picked 3 that will help us abuse Controlled Demolition vertically. The first fragment here is going to be Echo of Explosion. This will give us something very similar to Blue, my current Void Walker. Next, I'm going to run Echo of Provision, which states that damage combatant with a grenade grants melee energy. This will help synergize into Controlled Demolition because you throw out a Vortex grenade, it's going to suck in those enemies, it's going to deal damage over time to them, and it's going to give you melee energy. That melee energy might be enough with our exotic and armor choices that you can then throw out a melee to then grant yourself more grenade energy. And as long as you're dealing damage with your volatile enemies, they will be, when they die, they will grant you grenade, melee, and health. Finally, I have chose Echo of Remnants, which, by the way, if you're wondering where this is from, it's actually shown off in the Vidoc. You can actually see it in the Vidoc. If you go frame by frame, it's right there. And this will make my Vortex Grenade last longer. My guess is this will be like Lockdown from Hunter, and will make it last twice as long. So it'll last a really long time. And if it constantly has a pull effect and doesn't have a pull effect just on an initial throw, but if it truly has a true pull effect all the time, it'll be really strong. Like, it'll be a really good grenade to have. Everybody's all hyped up to have suppressors against the Void Guardians. Okay. Like, yeah, I guess. But I'm sure they're not going to be that hard to kill. So I'm just excited to have vortexes be better than they already are when I already think they're the best grenade on the class, on any void class. Alright, now we're going to head to the armor stage, which means we are switching over to non-scripted form, so I can walk this through with everyone. The first part was scripted, that way I could type it out and get a good flow for everything, but from here on out it's going to be non-scripted. So if I sound like I'm rambling, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be non-scripted, and I'm not great non-scripted. So thank you for watching this part. We're going to head into armor now. Alright, on to the armor now. Okay, so as I said, this part's going to be non-scripted, but I wanted to show two very important apps off to everybody. Okay, first we are on d2armorpicker.com. Anybody can go here, you sign up for your Bungie account, and it will manifest your account into here with all of your armor that you currently have. In fact, it'll even show the exotics that you currently have in your vault or on your characters. So today, we are working on going through a Void 3.0 Titan build, right? So for me, for a common Titan stat distribution, I'm going to first look for 100 recov, okay? I know the exotic I want to use is going to be Heart of Immortal Light. I may not be able to get 100 recov on Heart of Immortal Light. I can, okay? So now I have to think about what order do I want the rest of my stats. In my opinion, if I had the armor, I would probably go 100, 100, 100 recovery, 100 discipline, very high strength, and then medium resilience. I think strength is actually going to be a really good stat on Void Titan in 3.0. So I actually would go for probably close to as 100 strength as you could get. Obviously, if you can build to 80 strength, you just need to build to 80 because you can run Radiant Light. And now you can be at 100, right? So, for the purpose of this build, and because my Titan armor isn't perfect, it's just usable, right? We're going to go 180. So we're going to go 100 recov, 80 on the discipline here, and then we're going to go 50, but we're going to go 60 for our resilience, because 60 with 2 utility kickstarts is like having 80. So basically subtract a tier for every time. Subtract 2 tiers for every time you run a utility. Subtract a tier per utility kickstart. So if you run 1, it's like running 70. If you run 2, it's like running 80. If you're at 80 and you run 1, it's like running 90. If you're at 80 and run 2, it's like running 100. Because it'll roughly take those 4 seconds you're missing off. And here it's 25 to 20. It's roughly 5 seconds, or 25 to 31, where it's 6 seconds. Obviously, the higher you go, it's more of a curve and not a line as you progress through. But we'll go to 60, which I think is plenty high enough for most Titans. So now over here on this right side of my screen, Armorpicker is going to tell me the total tiers. The total tiers means the total tiers added together. So 33, 2 plus 6 plus 10 plus 8 plus 3 plus 4, right? That comes to 33. So now I need to think about which one I want to run. Obviously, in my opinion, this is the most efficient. You're asking for 1 small recovery, 3 big recoveries, and a discipline. Obviously, I have pretty good discipline armor overall. If I wanted to, I could go 5 recovs, but I think this is probably pushing it. Also, if you want to, I think there was, I don't know if there still is, there was a way to lower your total armor, total mod costs. But for this build, we need to run all mods here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, right? This helmet, this gloves, this Heart of Immortal Light, and these boots, right? Well, instead of trying to search for them in DIM, which we're about to go over to Destiny Item Manager, if you don't have Destiny Item Manager, sign into Destiny Item Manager or download the desktop app. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to open in DIM Optimizer, but not quite yet. First, we're going to open DIM. We're going to drag DIM over here. Just a little window, right? Now we're going to click Open in Dim Optimizer. Well, it's going to drag it here. Okay, so now we're here in Dim Optimizer, right? Okay, cool. Well, we know what our elements are. In order to change your elements as you go through your mod picking, this isn't going to necessarily change them in game, but it'll change them here so you can see what they need to be changed to in game. So we're going to select this Ascendant Shard upgrade. Here are the select armor upgrades. This one, not the not Masterworked one. Okay. And we know right now that the mods we have on are going to be 3 big recoveries, a small recovery, and a major discipline. Alright, so if we look at this build, what are my complaints with it armor-wise? I want to focus into having my abilities up a lot, which is why I chose Heart of Inmost Light. And because of that, I actually think these gloves need to go to stasis. So I'm going to click here on this little slot that has the little arm logo, just like you would in game, right? And you're going to click a grenade kickstart and a melee kickstart. This will take the game and make the change this to stasis, okay? This is now full, okay? So 4 plus 4 plus 2. That's 8 plus 2, which is 10. So we now know our gloves are full, okay? Okay, so next up, let's think about mods that are useful. We're going to assume that we're not going to have a mod like Particle Deconstruction next season. So we're going to build with that not in mind. Now, I will be making this build fully in the future, and we'll be making a video on it, but I want to walk you all through this process for right now. Next, I think because we're going to really be focusing into our we're going to have our Vortex Grenade a lot. I actually think moving this helmet to Solar and using 2 Ashes to Assets would be huge. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We have one more space here. So what we're going to do is, since I plan on using an Explosive Wellmaker, we can go ahead and throw on a Well of Ordnance here on the helmet. And now your helmet is full if you run that Well of Ordnance. It didn't select it into there, it moved it over here. We will fix that in the future. While we're here, let's talk combat style mods for this build. Alright, so I would probably go Explosive Wellmaker, so that way when you get the explosion kills from your melee, or when you kill volatile targets, or when your grenade gets a kill, that'll count as explosive damage, right? I would go ahead and run Explosive Wellmaker. You're kind of limited because of the gloves being ripped to stasis, right? So we'll go ahead and run a Bountiful Well, so make sure we get 2 of them. And then from here, it's kind of player choice. Some things you could do, right, is you could run a Melee Wellmaker, which would help with keeping up your abilities as a whole. Since we're limited to 4 slots, we're not going to be able to run as many as we could. However, this might limit your total wells and your total uptime. You could take away this Bountiful Wells, right? And this is the thought process that I go through when I'm making my builds, right? So I'm going to take away this Bountiful Wells, and in order to get me Protective Light, because Protective Light's really strong, right? We're going to give myself a Melee Wellmaker. We're going to give myself an Elemental Charge, and then we're going to come up here to the Charge with Light mods, and we're going to find a Protective Light, which would be there. And now, in our 4 slots, if we hit Select Mods, we're locked in to those 4 mods, and it works perfectly out. Now, what I would prefer to do is I would like at least 1 bomber here, because you're going to be popping your barricade a lot. I mean, you're kind of using it to get those cooldowns, right, when you're using Heart of Inmost Light. So you're going to be popping that barricade a lot, and having the bomber here will give you a little bit of grenade energy when you pop it. This is 4 plus 3, which is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9, so you have 1 spot open. that's not going to really be enough to do anything with. So we're going to have to just leave that one spot open for now. Obviously, you could do something like Explosive Finisher, where you can instantly restore your grenade with a finisher. And it's only a fifth of your super, which if you're going to be running Bubble, which I would highly recommend going into Void 3.0, because it's going to be a fast, easy to use, efficient super, then you could definitely go for something like that. Now, you have your build made, you have your mods in, right? Well, now what do we do to get it into the game? First, if you like this loadout, like I do, right? You can see everything in here. That looks solid. So now we're going to hit Save Loadout. And I typically name it the exotic and then what version it is. Because obviously in the future you'll be updating builds as you get better armor and your stat distributions get better and you can better build into those stats that you need them to be. So for right now, I'm going to do Heart. Yeah, I have a Heart of Inmost Light build, but that is for stasis. Heart of Inmost Light Void, version 1.0. This just keeps everything organized for me. You can name it whatever you want. If you just don't need to worry about like whether it's the most updated one or not, and you just will like update it and make a new one when you have the right armor for it, you can do that. I just like having it updated, that way I know that like, okay, so in case I have like 3 or 4 Heart of Inmost Light Void builds for some reason, because I haven't gone through and cleaned up my dim, which I do about once a month because I use dim that often, then I know that if I have like a 2.5 and I still see the 1.0, I know the 1.0 is old and has old armor equipped to it. It may not even be usable because I've deleted that old armor or used that old armor in a different build nowadays. But this is how I put the builds together. So I go in, I get the class and subclass I want. I then go and I choose my armor in Armorpicker. I see the stat distributions and I choose my exotic at that point. At that point in Armorpicker, I choose the exotic I think I'm going to run, because then I can build around that exotic, right? And for me, in my opinion, Heart of Inmost Light is Titan's best ability exotic right now, and I really like ability builds, especially ability builds on Titan that can help with your survivability and stuff like that. So I chose Heart of Inmost Light here, and then I choose the stat distribution I want around Heart of Inmost Light, which is high recovery, high discipline, and then strength and resilience as high as they can be. Correct? So then I ran that, and then I go into dim with that optimized armor. As I showed you, I click the button here, open in dim optimizer. It popped it right open into dim. If you're wondering why this is blue, it's because it's the dim beta, which I just the one that's logged in here on my browser. On my regular dim app, it's just the regular dim. And then you can take and equip any of the mods you want into dim here, right? And you can put it all together. Well, the nice thing about dim now is if all of your armor is on the right affinities, which my armor currently isn't, right? Because I have to go into game and fix that. You can hit save here, and then if we go over here to your inventory tab, let this load real quick. By the way, this is my vault, in case people are wondering. Yeah, my vault is very empty. I don't hold a lot of shit. And you'll see very few duplicates of guns. This is two completely... And to be honest, I should only be keeping that one. This one should be deleted. But yeah, my vault is very clean. If I have a duplicate of a gun, it's on purpose. Like, this is for two different purposes. This is to run as a primary. This is to build with stasis. You will see things that I have in here that are still 1100 light that were good rolls that I think are good rolls that I just don't infuse because I just don't need them. Like, this is a really good long shadow. I'm never going to use it, but it's a really good long shadow. I should have it in case I ever want to get into sniping. This is a really good scholar. If 150 scouts there become meta inside the Crucible, or we get a really, really big map, this could be really good. Things like that. That's why my dim is so light. But, that being said, you can now come into here. You find that Heart of Inmost Light version 1.0 for that Void build, right? And all you have to do is click it. And now dim is going to go in here and apply it. Now, obviously, it's not currently able to apply everything I want it to apply because my affinities aren't correct. Well, in that case, then I could just open the game, right? And I could fix all that in game if I, of course, had the materials to do it, but I don't. So, and I'm not trying to burn materials right now when we are entering a new season and a new year. And starting tomorrow, I'll be able to catch up on materials since it will be lake and I'll be farming out the rocket. Anyways. But that is all for today's video. That's all I really wanted to show off. I just wanted to walk you through my mental process as I make builds. My builds are sometimes just for the sake of fun. I will admit that. I do make builds that aren't necessarily the most practical. Like, one of my favorite hunter builds is not endgame practical. I run Frosties here, and I run Traveler's Chosen, and I run Philo, and I run a Zumi Sword, and I run Shatter Dive, and Glacial Grenades, and I Shatter Dive everything. Is it the most efficient way to play Hunter? Probably not. But I find it fun because it's fun to just throw a Glacial Grenade and Shatter Dive, throw a Glacial Grenade and Shatter Dive. And you can do it a lot. Like, if you get to the point where you're at 100 Discipline, and you're doing it, like, it's constant. It's a lot of fun to do it that way. But, that being said, I don't think it's practical in endgame content. And I think that's something that everybody needs to do more of, is make fun builds. Yeah, sure, it may not get you anywhere in endgame content, but less than 5% of this game's total content is endgame content. True endgame content, that being said. I mean, obviously, I'm sure if you were really to process it as endgame content, anything post-campaign, right? Even Strikes and Crucible would count as post-campaign content, which is technically endgame, right? When you're done leveling. But I think more fun builds is incredibly important into the Destiny ecosystem. And I will definitely have fun builds coming out. But most of my builds are going to be, if I make a build and I say it's endgame ready, I mean it. Like, it'll be endgame ready when I make it. I test these builds a lot. A lot. And so, if I say a build is endgame ready, it's endgame ready. Alright, everybody. I appreciate all of you watching. I know this video is going to be a bit of a longer one. This section alone is 18 minutes. But I knew there was a lot to walk through and talk about, so I appreciate everybody watching. Please do not forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see all of you Wednesday for a brand new video, and goodbye!